Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to be with you. You may be, hopefully, you can tell where I am seated. This morning, I'm in our sanctuary at the Prince of Peace, and you all get a sneak peek of our Advent setup for, there we go, for the coming weeks here and our sanctuary. And the goal of our conversation today is to talk a little bit about the variety of ways in which technology is shaping the work that we do together. And got a bunch of stuff that we want to show you, that some enhancements and equipment that has been brought into to the church for us to be able to do the variety of things that we're doing. And tuned in with us today is Chris Thornton, who's our congregation treasurer, but not because of that capacity, but because his own spiritual gifts involve a deep interest and understanding and passion for these things. We've been blessed to have his wise investment of time and energy and certainly expense into helping this congregation pivot in this time and react quickly and get things going, so that there's any number of ways in which we're able to continue being the church. And so it's wonderful. But I want to kind of save that, the stuff, all of the sanctuary enhancements and that kind of stuff, and talk about a few other ways in which technology is shaping our ministry going forward. Now, before this time of COVID and before this time of being the church distant, we were already very actively taking advantage of technology in some pretty profound ways for the church. And that didn't necessarily make us unique in the church world, but over time, just even in the almost 5 years that I've been here and been a part of this community of faith, we've seen some changing habits and changing patterns. And so I want to kind of talk through some of those things, and then how they've been adapted and changed in a little bit more recent times for us. And one thing I want to start with is I want to share, make sure I've got it open. I want to show a few things on our website. And so hopefully you're all familiar with our website, poproseville.org. And I'm getting there, just a second. So hopefully you're seeing our website on your screen, and let me just sort of make it a little bigger here. And the look and feel of our website changed dramatically about 3 years ago. We changed over the platform that we use to host our website, and changed the software that runs underneath that handles all of the different kind of design elements and the way in which that we put information on there. For many years, Lowell Benson faithfully served as the congregation's webmaster, and he was sort of the primary person who made changes and made updates to the website. And what a gift that was for so many years. And then Lowell, when Lowell expressed an interest in sort of stepping away from those responsibilities, we thought that would be a good time to make some changes and update and use a different platform. And we worked with a consultant and person who does website development work and website maintenance stuff, who helped us get up and running and switched us over onto this platform that we use called WordPress. So our website runs on a platform that's and a software platform called WordPress. And you see here, unlike when you go into your web browser and you type in POP Roseville, you don't end up seeing this black bar that's right here. And the reason that shows up and these other little menus are here is because I have the capability to do maintenance and do administration on our website. And so this sort of runs in the background for me, and I can go in and make changes. And so I'll just show you that real quickly. Our WordPress is the software behind this. And so you can see here that there are, the website itself is built of lots of different layers of pages. And those pages are all managed right here in this list. And there's pages of pages. There's pages of pages. And if we were going to go in and edit and make changes, this is one of the ways that we can do that. We can just get to it from this list of different pages. One of the most important pages we have is called the home screen, which is that screen that we were just looking at a minute ago. It's the very first screen that pops up if you go to just poproseville.org. And we update that pretty regularly because there's some dynamic content that shows up on that page. And so I'm going to go back to just the site, but then you can see that is controlled there. So this dynamic content that's on here updates for us as we make changes within the background on the software. And so over here, there's this scrolling news place, which are sort of the top stories, the things that are most important to be paying attention to, the things that you're most likely looking for when you come to our website, or most of our visitors are looking for. And so, and we can change that just by editing and clicking on a few different things in the background. But for example, right now, this is our information about the upcoming Christmas and Advent worship series called Making Room. This was just posted within the last few days and shows up on our home screen because it's an important part of our life together. And so this takes, when you click on that, it takes you to what is essentially like a blog post, but just a singular page that has information on it, and it has the navigation to go and find other things on it as well. But so within this one posting, we can link it to a variety of different places. So for example, if you were to, if you were going to go and just look at worship at our worship page on the website, you'll notice that here is on the left side is a link to that same post because that has to do with worship. And so so you can get to that post that by clicking on it here. But here on the main worship page is just generalized information about our times and things like that. And we want to make sure people are aware of someday when we're able to worship in person again, what our schedules look like historically, things about how we worship together. So it's information, but it's also current stuff, things that are happening right now. Then at the very top here in the corner, you noticed also there's a link to the current worship. And so this morning's worship service is available, and you can click on it right here as well. Back on the home screen, you also notice that that's a place where we've now put a link to our worship services as well. And you can actually scroll and get the 3 most recent services. You can find links to them right there. But from that worship page, you can also go and find our full YouTube channel, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. But that's how we're using these key pages to help us, make sure people know what's going on. You've all probably become very familiar with what's underneath this button, which is where the links for everything people need to know for Sunday mornings is found on this page. And we update this dynamically so that, it has the most current worship services. Whatever Pastor Betsy has planned for children's ministry, there's links for that stuff here. And like the link for this gathering here are Coffee, Cookies, and Conversation and Adult Zoom and so forth. And so great source of information, and we've tried to make it as cross-referenced as possible so you really don't have to struggle to find things. But if you ever have any feedback that you'd like to share with us about how, I went looking for this piece of information, and I did, I either couldn't find it or I struggled to find it if it just wasn't obvious to you. That's really helpful, because know that those of us who are interacting with this stuff regularly and maybe help to actually create a particular page or to identify where something is, we intrinsically know where things are. But one of the challenges with web design is to always try and make it feel like it's just natural. Like, this is where I would go to look for this information, and I'm not finding it particularly there. So one more thing to show you about our website that I just want to draw your attention to is probably the newest part of the website, which is the listing of daily devotions. Back in March, when we began doing church from a distance, we decided very quickly that one thing that we could do was to reach out to people on a daily basis and began a process of writing devotions. Now, Pastor Ruth took on a huge task of being the primary author for devotions 7 days a week for us for a very long time. And she had an occasional spell in there where someone else would step in, but she was doing that for a long time. And so, and the whole content of that devotion ended up just going out in the email. And this fall, or heading into this fall, we decided to make a change around how we were doing that. One was to sort of tighten down a little bit of how much content we were needing to create and share with you all, and then also how that was going to be engaged. And so you've all hopefully have noticed that the devotions, you just get a little sort of teaser first paragraph of that in the daily email that comes to you Monday through Friday. And so 5 devotions a week. And then when you click on that, it brings you to this page. As a result, this page has become the most viewed part of our website over the course of the last 2 months. In fact, more visits to this page in particular than to our homepage, which is where the source of all of that other information I've just been showing you. So on our devotions page, you'll always get the most, the devotion that gets published for today, or the one that's most recently. This one was published on Friday. And then there's on the right-hand side, you'll see 4 more most recent ones. So this would be the whole week from last week that show up there. But you can always go finding older entries as well, and you'll get a rundown to go back if you're looking for one in particular. I just want to highlight, I need to move this on my screen here, that you can also, there's a little search function. I'm not sure if you're able to see this in this corner of the screen, but there is a little magnifying glass up here in the upper corner. And you can always search search the website for things that you might be interested in finding. And so that little search function brings you to the variety of stuff that talk about devotions. Also over here on the left, I was just searching devotions, there's these category listings. And if you click on there, like in there, devotions is one of our categories that helps us keep things organized. You can also click there and you'll get the most recent postings for all the devotions. And then you just scroll back in time a little bit there as well. But you can see other things, other categories of information and postings on our website that are organized by these categories. Over here on the left is another option for you. So now I want to show you next. I mentioned that our emails come to you. Many of you get them Monday through Friday and on Sunday mornings. Some people have given us the direction that they'd prefer not to get that many emails. And so the other option available is to just get Friday's email and Sunday's email. And what's different about Friday's email is that minimize here just for a second. What's different about that is Friday's email has sort of our week's worth of announcements as a part of it, and it's included there in a little bit more detail with some more pictures and things like that to engage with. And we found that an effective way to communicate more broadly sort of the announcements of the week and things that are coming up for you. And then Sunday's morning's email is really all about worship, and it's making sure that you have at your fingertips all of the things that you might need to be able to worship with us on Sundays or in the days following that, so that they're all right there at your fingertips. And then the Monday through Thursday email is pretty consistent, primarily about the devotion at the top, with just some short informational links that are listed below. If any of you would like to change the frequency of which you get those emails, you can just reach out to the office and let us know to update that. There is a way to update that on the website as well. Okay, I'm just gonna stop sharing for just a second so I can queue up the next piece. And if I'll stop and ask also if there's any questions about the website and the things that we've been doing with the website. And I can't see you all right now because I'm getting something else queued up. So just open up your mic and ask if you have a question. Okay, well, I want to show you now the piece of software that we use to control all of our emails, which emails continue to be a really important part of how we stay connected and how we communicate to the congregation. And more broadly, we have a number of people who are subscribed to our email distribution list that aren't necessarily members of our congregation, but they're maybe member adjacent, or they're former members, or they're friends or family of folks that are connected to Prince of Peace, and they're, for whatever reason, they enjoy receiving our information. We've had a number of people who've signed up to receive our devotions because they appreciate the devotions that have been sent out. And so we currently send out regular emails to about 260 unique email addresses. And of those, not every email gets opened. Not every email gets read. Surprise, surprise. Have you ever trashed an email in your inbox without ever opening it or looking at it or reading it? I do that probably more than I actually open on a daily basis, and so not unusual. But this software I'm showing you is from the company called Constant Contact, and that's the software provider that we use to manage the majority of the regularly scheduled emails that we send to you. When we send to you individualized emails, we either just use our own email software or our like individual email software like you do at home, or we also have the capability of reaching out to you through our member database software, which is called Simple Church. That's like when we're going to send a prayer request to our prayer team. We use that software, and so it's a little bit different. This is more of the broadcast style of email, and gives us a little bit more capability. Plus, there's some really interesting things that we can look at when it comes to monitoring how people are engaging those emails. Now this is like really, I'm pulling back the curtain for you so you get some sense of how we engage the how we see this. But you can see that over the course of the last, this is over the course of the last 30 days that we have sent 6,712 emails. Now that's individual emails out to individuals, right? So, and if we're sending approximately 6 emails a week, you can sort of do the math and see that. So typically we hover right around 40% of all the emails that we send on average actually get opened. Opened doesn't necessarily mean read, but it just means that they were engaged to the point that whatever software that the reader is using to manage their email, that it becomes opened up and available for view. Of those 40% that get opened, 44% of those emails, 44% of those people engage with the email on some level, meaning they click on it. There are lots of different links within our emails, and so this is how we can measure if you're engaging. For example, if you're clicking through to read the devotion, we're able to see how much monitoring there was. We had an interesting thing happen this week, and our click-through rate hovers usually right around 40%. It has just bumped up in the last few days primarily because there seemed to have been a lot of interest in the email that we sent on Friday, and in particular, the devotion that I wrote about my car and the catalytic converter being stolen. And yeah, it's an interesting story, and it certainly captured people's attention. And so this is one of the highest click-through rates that we've ever seen for a non-Sunday morning email. It's not unusual for us to see on Sundays that we have a high level of engagement because most people who watch our worship together get to it by clicking on it in the email. And so, which is wonderful. We're glad that we make it easy and available for you to find in that way. But for a non-Sunday morning, 63% is really a lot. And that means 72 unique users clicked on a portion of the email, and we can actually drill into that. And you can see your names all pop up here in just a second. And this is really behind the veil. I don't want to embarrass anybody or anything, but here's all the different things that were linked that are linked from the Friday's email. And if we scroll down here to the bottom, we can see that the daily devotion was clicked on 71 times. And so that's a really high level of engagement for an email to a community of faith like ours. And again, we only send out 260 approximately different emails. And so that 71 people clicked through tells us something, and it's interesting. And it's as administrators, it's interesting to watch that sort of stuff happen. And so know that we can go back and kind of track things and see how people are engaging stuff. And we can go back and look and see what sorts of things are getting lower engagement or that kind of stuff. But you can see that we're pretty consistent that about anywhere from 35 to 45% of our emails get opened. And again, our average is running a little over 40% right now for people who are clicking through and engaging the content that's being sent there. So that's has to do with our emails. Now, any questions? I'll look at my screen real quick. Any curiosities about email or why something is happening? Or all right. Now I want to switch gears and talk a little bit more about all the work that's been going on here at the church facility. And before I give you the tour, one more little screen share here. Where did it go? Here it is. And I want to show you, when you watch the majority of our videos, those are all, we use YouTube as our platform to host the videos and to promote them and to engage with them in a variety of ways. And YouTube is a company that's owned by Google. They're a subsidiary of Google now, and so it's a very robust and well integrated platform. And so we, at no cost to the church. This is the amazing thing about YouTube and Google, is that the majority of the tools that they offer are at no cost. And so that is really a gift. Whereas we pay a subscription fee to use portions of WordPress for our website, and we pay to have our website hosted on a server somewhere, and we pay to we pay a little bit occasionally when we need some help from the person who helped us set it up to update things. We have a subscription fee to Constant Contact, which enables us to keep sending out those emails, which are so important. But with YouTube and much of the things that we do on Google, we don't pay, with a little bit of exception. When we have a lot of storage we have to maintain and things like that, we pay for additional storage and stuff. And so, but with YouTube, we have our channel, and our channel is called POP Roseville. And this is, I'm in something called YouTube Studio, which is what the administrators that interact with our video production and stuff. This is where we manage and maintain all of the different videos. And so I'm just showing you here that this is a listing of different, all of the things that we have loaded onto our YouTube channel. And you'll recognize that there are, it's primarily worship services or clips from worship services that we share in different ways. Here's last week's adult forum. The video recording of that is housed here. Here is Lee Thornton's cooking class. If you haven't watched it, it's delightful. I encourage you to check that out. Anyways, and so, and here's the little clip from last week's worship where Judy Florine is the star, one of the star contributors for that. And so we get a chance to, anyway, so this is all started. So here's today's worship service, for example, and we can look at that really quickly. I'll just show you that we have so far today 59 different views of our worship service yet just this morning. And there is actually somebody watching it right now as we speak. So they're probably not here with us on the forum, but they're sitting and watching watching the worship service as we go. And so we can track how these services are being engaged. And this is, so YouTube and YouTube Studio are the things that we use to manage that. All right, now I've got to get myself set up here with phone. I am going to turn the microphone over to Chris Thornton. Are you prepared to talk, Chris? And I've got to turn my microphone on mute for a few moments, but I want him to describe a little bit about his experience of getting things up and running and start to chronicle some of the stuff that we've acquired from a hardware standpoint to help make some of all of these things possible.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks, Peter. You know, when we first started this, we were really looking at, you know, cobbling together in very short order what we needed to do initially, some streaming, and then we have sort of very quickly had to go fully remote, and people were using cell phone cameras and the like. And so we've been acquiring more equipment and sophistication as we've gone through time here, you know, starting with, you know, things as simple as tripods and things like that to hold people's cameras steady. And then once we got to a level of sophistication and the virus kind of got suppressed to a level where we could start bringing people back into the sanctuary, we wanted to get the technology up and running, you know, primarily to prepare for the time when we're going to be back and be able to be worshiping again in person. So here in the sanctuary, we have basically gone through and you know, taken out all the technology that we had previously. And I have a pile of cables about this high behind the booth here of all the things that we've taken out. And then we've replaced that with the modern technology that will allow us to you know, stream our services going forward, and it allows us to bring you guys into the sanctuary on a week-to-week basis, you know, right now. Some of the stuff, I'll see if I can figure out how to turn my camera around. I don't do this as much as the rest of you. So the audio booth that you're familiar with, that you probably walk past and don't give a second thought on a normal Sunday, is over here. And then the video booth is this side of things. And there's a lot of the technology that we used to have is down here. Some of that's been taken out and it's been replaced with kind of what you see here. Now, this isn't the final. This looks a little ugly. It's a bit thrown together because we don't need it to look pretty right now. But essentially what we have done is added the technology that allows us to bring in feeds from cameras and other video sources, audio sources, and go ahead and broadcast that into the world. And so Peter's walking around doing some video work here, but essentially we have taken cameras and Peter, if you don't mind me walking around here. So you probably all remember we had one camera in the past that was up here on the pillar. Now that's what we call a PTZ camera, pan, tilt, and zoom. So you can move it all around and zoom in on things. So we've taken that and replaced it with digital technology. And we've added 3 more. And right now they're just on tripods around because that gives us the flexibility to shoot wherever we want. But it allows us to get the multiple angles that you see, which really kind of, to take you behind the scenes a little bit, really allow us to smooth over when the pastors lose their place in their sermon and things like that. You guys don't even notice it because we edit those out. Every time you see a camera cut, that's probably what's happened. So we've got that technology here, allows us to cover, you know, the entire sanctuary and get the musical groups and whatnot as you've been seeing. If you watched the Tanzania broadcast last week, we put Karin in Africa and brought her in here. We didn't actually send Karin to Africa because of course it's still hard to get on a plane. We used this technology. So this green screen is something I purchased on my own. It's relatively cheap, but it gives you the capability to basically put somebody wherever in time or space that you want. So I don't know if you can see Peter's phone, but he is enjoying this Zoom from Montana, the mountains of Montana. Oh, is that the Himalayas? So this is something that we're also going to try to use for the Christmas pageant to, you know, put the kids in, you know, the scene that you might see them here in the sanctuary or somewhere else. But since we can't sort of bring the kids into close proximity with each other, we can shoot them individually and put them into place later. So that's basically what we've done here. Now, obviously, this area is where seats used to be. The seats will come back at some point and we won't use this part of the technology as much. But again, this isn't something the church has invested in. It's more the cameras and the computer capability over here. And so just to give you just a little idea, you know, this is what we were looking at before. So Peter, if you want to just go stand back up there again so I can see. So all the different camera feeds and everything come in down here. And then what you see on the left is what I could put out on the stream, and what you see on the right is what's going out currently. So there's Peter in the Himalayas, and then if you look down here, each of these cameras that I told you they kind of pan, tilt, and zoom, you can set up. We only have 4 of them, but you can set up different scenes. So you can see I've got a close up of the Advent candles, and then a wide shot. Those are both actually the same camera, and so if you basically look at that camera here, and then if I click on the Advent candles, it'll automatically zoom into the position that I want. And if I want to go back to the wide shot, I just one click, if I can find it while I'm holding the iPad here, and it zooms back out. And so it really gives the appearance, as you're trying to run a production here in the sanctuary, of having many more than the 4 cameras that we've got. And also makes it really easy for, you know, a volunteer to sit back here and run the technology. You know, you just have one button for the pulpit. They click on that. It zooms in on the pastor for the pulpit. You have one for the choir, zooms in on the choir, one on the piano, you know, so they don't have to be over here trying to run a joystick and get smooth shots. They're just clicking pictures that they see on screen for what they want to put out there. So that's I don't know, probably a good overview. Peter, anything else you want to stray into?
So I just wanted to show one more little piece of technology. I know that you all have been deeply impressed when we, let me see, get this here. Oh, I think you're still on screen share. Okay. All right. All right. So too many things. So we are, when we first started doing all of our own recording and stuff like that, one of the things that we've been using our phones so much. And the good news is the quality of the video cameras on many phones is so good and so sharp and crisp. Sound can be pretty good. So a lot of the recording we've been doing over the course of the year has just been done with our phones. One of the things that always confounded me and frustrated me was that it's really hard to look at the camera with a phone, to actually look at the spot where the image is being captured. And so when we're preaching, in particular reading prayers, things like that, it always sort of disturbed me that we're not able to really look into the camera lens and be able to make a stronger connection with those viewers. And so recently we've made some changes, and I acquired a little piece of equipment that's functions like a teleprompter, like the professional recording studios use. And so I want to show you this little contraption. And it sits on a tripod, and there you see there is a little mirrored piece of glass and a black hood, and the camera sits right behind that glass. But then you can see what's scrolling on the screen right now is the sermon that I just preached to you this week. And it is reflected off of this little tablet. It's like an iPad. And it reflects onto this screen, and the camera is right on the other side of that screen. So as I'm reading aloud my sermon or whatever piece of prayer needs to be shared, I'm looking right at the camera the whole time. And no, I don't have 12 minutes of material memorized perfectly. We're still working out some kinks with this, but it's really been I think a great upgrading of some of the work that we're doing, because I think it makes the services feel more intimate as a result. And so, but I'm curious to hear how you're experiencing these things. And so I want to sit back down here again. I'm going to end this feed. Okay, I'm curious, what reactions, what's thoughts, what things are mysterious to you?
Peter, you need to mute one of those.
Oh, I thought that one was gone. How's that? There we go. Sorry, I'm curious. Any thoughts, questions, reactions?
I have a question.
Yeah, Paul.
Okay. I'm very grateful for all these improvements that you have brought into the church, and it is wonderful to have these technological advances. I have one small question about the devotions. The first part of your presentation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Would it be possible to have it all visible on the screen, so that the step of click here to see the full devotion would not be additional? The reason you mentioned the word intimacy, and in reading the devotion, I feel like I'm in an intimate connection with the person has prepared and is delivering the devotion. And it seems kind of intrusive to have to click one more time. I mean, that takes a half a second, but I like to see the thing together in a single space. Is that possible, or is it just a space on the screen problem?
Yeah, we did some debating around that, Paul, for sure. And I completely understand that impulse, and that added step of to be able to click through. There's a trade-off, everything that we, every single one of these decisions, there's a trade-off that we're always weighing and so forth. I appreciate that feedback, and especially the way that you describe feeling that connectivity to an author who's putting together that particular devotion and sharing with that. In the coming season of Advent, starting next Sunday, we're going to be there's a big project many of you are involved with, of contributing devotional elements for us as a community of faith that will serve like an Advent calendar for us, similar to what we did last year, but this year it will all be virtual, of course, and there will be a lot of music as a part of it. And so unfortunately, because of all of these various pieces, it does require people to get to the right kind of software place, usually a website where full interactivity is available. And so now with the written word, like you're describing, Paul, that's the limitations aren't quite as strict around that, but we're trying to create a consistent pattern for people and a consistent way in which people are interacting with it. So, but I'm definitely going to hang on to what you've just described and talk about it amongst our planning team a little bit more and see if there's a way that we can, in fact, maybe there's just a way for those who want a specific devotion only piece could be emailed to you directly and not include all the other content and it just be the devotion itself. That's a possibility. It just requires some thought and thinking through how we would do that. So Judy, you have a question.
Well, I comment to Paul. I kind of feel the same way he does. So what I do now, when I get that email, I don't start reading the devotion. I click on that, see the whole thing. And then I just start reading when the whole thing is up there. Because I understand what he's saying, because I would do that too. You get about 2.5 sentences and then you're like, I don't want to be, broken up on this.
Yeah.
So I just click on the whole thing right away before I start reading. So until you figure out how to change it, Paul, that might help you.
I think it's a good wondering for us as a church is that are we being used by the technology, or is the technology something that we are using? And we want to make sure that it sits in the right place in that dynamic, right? And so there's something really important, and like the things that I've appreciated, as I was saying earlier with the teleprompter, for example, I know that I'm a better preacher. I feel like I'm a better preacher when I can feel like I'm connecting more individually with those who are on the other side of the screen. That matters to me. I mean, I have on a few occasions made my wife sit on the other side of the camera so that it feels like I'm actually preaching to a person, right? Because there's something about the proclaimed word that requires an audience that's known and felt, and so that's one of the challenges that we have. And the similar is, with the written word. Paul, you're writing, as you sit and have written the books that you've written, I suspect you're imagining the reader as you're putting those words together, and the same is true for the work that we're doing in this environment as well. So.
Yeah, the point about intimacy, or the point about connectivity, you're making the same point very well about the teleprompter. The teleprompter gets out of the way, and you're connecting with the person who is viewing you.
Right.
So the click seems like the teleprompter, but it breaks the rhythm of the devotion. So,
Peter, what would happen?
It would be an improvement.
Yep. Dennis, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that the daily devotions are something that we read almost every day as well. It almost seems like there's an opportunity for simply having a separate email that sends out the daily devotion to the same group of people. And when you click on it, boom, you're there. You get the whole thing. You don't get all the other stuff with Saint Prince of Peace and stuff like that. But maybe at the end of it, there's a click click here to get back or go to the full thing or whatever, but it's almost like a separate email would allow you to, the daily devotion email, boom, you click on it, and you've got the whole thing right there in front of you. Anyway.
And know that, I appreciate that. Know that the source place on our website where I was showing you those devotions go live at, actually, here's your little insight. They go live at 1 a.m. every morning. So if you're an early bird, you don't have to wait for the email to read that daily devotion. You could just bookmark that place in your web browser and go directly to the website and at any time that you want, and the full devotion, well, anytime after 1 a.m. Or you could stay up late and then let that be the last thing you do before you fall off to sleep, is to read Pastor Ruth's wise counsel for the day ahead.
Yeah.
And so that's also an option as well, knowing that it's all contained right there. And then what the email is just a link to that information. That's the repository of the devotion is on the website. So,
right.
So, but I hear what you're saying, and I think there are some good suggestions here that for us as well.
I'm puzzled about the 1 a.m. When I turn on my computer about 5 a.m., the devotion isn't there yet, and then it appears later.
I'll have to double check that, Paul. I'll confess. Kristen, our office administrator, is the one who schedules all of that content. And so I'll have to look at that. And we can make it available earlier for sure. It's just a matter of telling it what, because I'm not going to say it's never happened, but rarely have I not, well, I've had to write a few devotions in the wee hours of the morning because they were ready to go that day. But
Peter, the email shows up at 6.
Yeah, right. The email is scheduled to come at 6, but the devotion can be scheduled earlier than that too. So, and we could change the email schedule as well. Just didn't want you to think that there was, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's another option too. So. Yeah.
I get up early, and the first thing I do is read the devotion.
Well, let's adjust that timing. We can do that for sure. Yeah, make sure it's available to you. Yeah, I'm you know, as a pastor and a participant in the content generation, to know that you're reading it is such a deeply powerful thing, and gives a good pastor, yeah, that's why I'm doing this, isn't it? Yeah. So to watch those view counts on our worship services is the same as, is shaking your hands after the end of the worship service as you're filing out of the narthex or out of the sanctuary. It's a poor excuse, but it is one thing, and I am rewarded by that. To know that we've shared this experience together. And so to know that you've read the content that we've created, that you've watched these videos that we've produced, we don't do them for our own self gratification and, for our own enjoyment. We're doing this for God's church. And so we're pleased to know when it's getting engaged. Linda, you have a
Oh, I just am so impressed and appreciative of all of you putting the services together. And I think they just flow and are very meaningful. I just have a question about, is there a way that you can see how many non-Prince of Peace people participate? And as far as just how much of an outreach to people outside of Prince of Peace we are. And also, I guess I'm just kind of curious how the numbers compare to when we were having in-church attendance, what those numbers are looking like. Not that they're that crucial, but just curiosity.
Yeah, a good question. I've been reporting on some of that to our council with some frequency, but I could probably put together a summary that we could share more broadly with the congregation that would, help.
Yeah,
help.
I was just curious
Yeah,
today.
yeah,
It's not
but
anything I need right
so there's limits to that data. A smarter person than I could probably drill into it further and figure out the exacts. But we do know that the lion's share of our viewership is repeat viewership. It's coming from devices that have been previously connected. I can't tell if you, Linda, have watched worship. I don't have that capacity. I can tell if you've opened an email. Constant Contact lets me know. It doesn't tell me if you've read. I can tell if you've clicked on an email, so then I at least know that you're interacting with it. But I can't tell if you've watched the video. What I can look at is the aggregate numbers and the trends. Unsurprisingly, I don't know, or maybe it is surprising, viewership volume is really similar to the kind of in-person volume changes that we experience over time. For example, our attendance at Prince of Peace in our facility last year during the summer in 2019, dips, not unusual. Guess what happened over the summer with our YouTube viewership? It dipped and it picked back up again this fall. One thing that we have, we're not sure if it's correlation, causation, or just coincidence, but there seems to be a correlation between the length of a worship video and its viewership. So we have been trying to keep our worship length down around 40 to 45 minutes, as opposed to up around 50 to 60 minutes. We've noticed that, again, the longer the worship videos, the lower the view counts, I guess, is maybe to suggest that. So, which is not surprising. People have, they can sit here for an hour, and get antsy in those last 15 minutes maybe, but they know, whatever, it's too rude to get up and leave and walk out after communion or whatever it might be. But at home, it's a different drill, right? And so anyway, so that's one thing that we've been taking note of. We do know that every video that we've put out has unique viewers, so other people are engaging it, how they're coming to it. There's analysis on that. Our numbers are not so big that you can really that's the sample size is not that powerful to really understand, but we do know that there are unique viewers. Every week somebody from some other part of the world clicks on one of our videos. I have no idea what kind of engagement it is. Where are they actually watching the whole thing through? Are they sitting and enjoying it? Are they coming back? That's really tricky to manage and to watch. The ELCA provided us some guidance when this all started, because they wanted us to help gather metrics, because we're going to be reporting back to the church-wide, as we do every year, what our attendance numbers look like. How many people show up on a regular basis to come and worship with us at Prince of Peace? How do we do attendance in this time? That's tricky. So they said, just simply take all of your view counts in whatever platform you put out there, and double it, meaning that on average, and this is a really pretty good guess, is that on average, every view count is engaged by 2 people. Now, there are lots of single people who sit and watch a video, and there are times when there's families of 4, 5, and 6 who are watching a video. But ultimately, their calculation and their data people said, just double your view counts and call that your attendance. And so, and that view count we know is higher than, or that attendance is higher than what we had been experiencing before. But I still think it's accurate. And the reason I say this is because all of you gathered on this screen, many of you very faithfully here present every Sunday. But but not necessarily every Sunday. And whereas my guess is many of you would say that you have watched every worship service that we've put out online, whether you happen to watch it on Sunday or you went and back and found it later in the week or clicked on it, oh, that's right, I didn't see that second one of that series or whatever it might be. And so we anticipate, and we know that for families that maybe only came once or twice a month, if they're watching twice or three times a month, then their attendance is higher in that regard. And so ultimately we're feeling good that and that is the main reason why this investment in this technology, which will enable us to stream our services going forward, is such a wise thing, because you're going to wake up some Sunday morning, you're like, I don't feel good today. I think I'll just stay home. Well, the opportunity for you to tune in and watch us, whether you do it that in live or then you watch a recording of it later on, that will be available to us. And so we anticipate that our community of faith will be able to be much more engaged to what we're doing, as our primary expression of the church is to be gathered together in person in this way. And so, yeah. Other questions, Stephen?
Just wondering if, with all the updates that have been done and all the technology additions with the video portion, when we look ahead to live streaming and that, is there anything that's been done or anticipates being done with regard to the audio, the microphone setup for choir, and things like that when we re-engage in other ways? Is there anything with audio that's being done?
Yeah, it's a good question. We're kind of feeling our way through that. I think we have realized in doing this that the setup that we had was good for amplifying what was going on in the sanctuary for people listening within the sanctuary. It is not so good for recording that and sending it out. Now, we haven't had a whole choir in the sanctuary, obviously, so we haven't had an opportunity to kind of see where the shortcomings are. But, just as an example, we did have the organ for spooky music and a couple other events. And the first time we did that, we found that sitting in the audio booth here, right below the pipes, which are right above us here, it is impossible to tell what you're recording and what you're hearing with your own ear. And so, we've realized that there's a problem there that we need to fix. And we've purchased some technology like noise headphones that allow you to hear what you're recording and not what's going on so much outside of that. And then there are some microphones and things like that we're probably going to have to buy that will do a little bit of better job of capturing some of those different things and piping them out to people at home. So we're working on that. I think that's going to be probably a work in progress up until the point when they get people in the sanctuary, and then probably for a month or two after that before we get it probably perfect.
I wonder if the day will come where we have to actually locate the video production piece in an entirely different part of the building, so that you're only hearing what's coming through the equipment and not hearing it yourself, because that's the hardest. Just even recording my sermons, usually it's just me, and it's so hard to get the sound right, because what I hear and what is being. You can't remove your own voice from your body, and it's just so hard to gauge that. And we've been wrestling with that over time. So we're not professionals, and I think our work shows it, but we're really proud of the work that we're doing. And so at the same time, it helps. So Paul.
I was very grateful for the virtual memorial service for my wife, Nell, on July 11th. Are you doing virtual weddings, virtual funerals?
So, yeah, great question, Paul. And yes, your Nell's service was the first opportunity that we had to do anything like that. And then ultimately I've done another service like that. And but as a church, we haven't been called upon that to provide that. One of my encouragements to Chris to get all of this equipment in place and to get us to the point where we can live stream confidently is anticipating the sudden need to do a funeral service. And our vision right now would be that if we were called upon and had occasion to host a funeral, that just a small group of family members would be gathered here. Our smart team protocols would allow for a small family group to be here in our sanctuary. We would host the worship service, and then everyone else would be tuned in via live stream using the technology that we have. And we're prepared to do that. Obviously, we're monitoring the health department guidelines and all of the safety stuff around that, but to know that it's available to us is reassuring at this point. And Ruth, you wanted to reflect on that.
Yeah, one of the things that we learned about Nell's service is that it really takes two people. That it's really hard to do with just one person. So while I presided over the service and preached for the service, Peter was furiously doing all of the background stuff and put together the slides. So while one of us can do a funeral and do all the things, for that format, we learned it's really helpful. It just takes a team to do that kind of experience, but we certainly know that we can do it. And Michael, I think I saw your hand up too. Michael?
Yeah, just a quick question. If any of the technology is mobile enough to do any remote stuff?
A little bit. Chris, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so the cameras we have are, they use a new technology that allows them to be connected via just a single cable. So a single cable provides both power and video and audio over to the board here. So one of the things that we thought about is, when we do an outdoor service in the summer, what sort of, how could we do that? And essentially all we do is add longer cables, which are nearly have no cost at all. So we could extend everything outside and continue to run it from in here and stream that. If you wanted to go truly remote, there are other options. The technology that we have, the same technology allows you to do wireless, and you could make things like your iPhone. You can make that into a remote wireless camera as well. And so you could potentially do things even more remote. But what specifically you're talking about, it's not entirely clear. If you've got an idea, we can address that.
I was just thinking that there are times when it might add interest. For example, to go to the parking lot where the catalytic converters were cut out and show show the underside of the car or something like that.
Right, yeah. I mean, with pre-recorded, our flexibility has been really, our creativity has just been really a fun way to sort of suffer through all of these challenges, is to recognize that we have this unique creativity at us. I think, and one of my hopes is that you all experience the benefit of that, even once we return back into in-person stuff here in the sanctuary, that our capacity to be creative and to think outside the box has just been amplified in some very powerful ways, I think, over the course of the last few months. And so, we don't want, I hesitated having a whole forum on technology because it's not about the technology. It's not about all these toys that Chris and I and others get to play with. It's about telling a story in some important ways, and in a time when this is the safe way we can tell this story. And so I'm energized, and I think God's church has been energized in this time. I know that Prince of Peace is not unique and in this regard, and that people in churches just like Prince of Peace all over the country and all over the world are finding new ways to tell God's story and to stay connected as people of faith. And what a gift that is, that we have this at our fingertips. Paul.
I just wanted to mention that you, Peter, and you, Ruth, did such a beautiful job on July 11th. I think we figured we had 150 people there. I know I talked with 43. Anyway, there were 3 nieces from Virginia There was a son, a grandson in Oregon. There was a grandson in California. People from Moorhead, people from Chicago, people from the state of Washington. The ease of access, and there were so many people that wrote me individually afterwards to thank for the service. The service was beautifully done. And, you know, it was a real accomplishment.
I think that we experienced that. Betsy, was it one of the baptisms that you did this summer outside where somebody also joined by FaceTime?
Yes, yeah, the sponsors actually.
Yes. Yeah, so it does open events up to people because of travel restrictions or because of health or whatever. So it does allow so many more people to participate in new ways, which is so important right now. Just making those connections.
Yeah, and you know, on a simpler scale, you know, confirmation ministry wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for these technology platforms. To be able to use Zoom to keep our young people both connected to one another, but also then engaging learning and faith formation work around that. That's critical. The work that Betsy has been putting into videos to share with children's ministry folks, so many deep ways that we're continuing to do very traditional work of the church, but having to adapt and to use them in new ways. You know, none of us think it's ideal, but at the same time, there's some real power happening. I will confess, I believe that the church council has been more effective, and our meetings have been more pleasant as a result of having to be forced into this online platform, just like this forum is on Zoom. We've been more efficient. Our work has flowed easier, and there's no travel time to and from the meeting, and you can, you know, wear shorts and you know, sneak a snack and whatever, and it doesn't. It's just has been a gift. I suspect we're going to keep doing things like that in some of these ways where the technology will just continue to outlive. So, well, we've been going on for quite a while. Are there? Yeah, Kent, you get the last word today, Kent.
Well, it's just a joke, really. This winter, there'll be no major worries about getting to church in a snowstorm.
That's right. That's right. I noticed there is a skiff of snow on the driveway today. Not enough that would trigger our snowplow company to come, but it might make the hill up into the church parking lot a little slick this day. And I don't know how warm it'll get, but I hope to see many of you in person, at least through your car windshields this afternoon as we come by for the harvest celebration. We'll be out here from 2:30 to 5:30, receiving hopefully your gifts, your commitment cards. We'll be gathering those in this harvest. If you have a gift to share with PCYC, as was described in worship, but at a minimum, you're going to be given an Advent candle kit that you need to take home and set up somewhere in your home, so that we all are worshiping this Advent season with a common element, and these Advent candles that Betsy and all of her volunteer crews have been working so hard to pull together. It'd be a joy to hand those out to you today. And also, Betsy, describe quickly what the thankfulness exercise will look like.
You'll also be asked to write on a little slip of paper something you're thankful for, very much like I did the prayers today with that collage that was what the confirmation kids are thankful for. So we want to do that across the congregation.
Awesome. So we'll come by sometime between 2:30 and 5:30. That gives you Vikings fans a chance to get here and get back home in front of your TVs before kickoff. And for those of you who want to have a little bit more darkness in the sky to enjoy the lights, then you just come a little bit later and we'll be here. So I am so grateful to be together with all of you today. Thanks for taking your time and listening in. we'll see you soon. And thanks to Chris Thornton one more time for his unbelievable efforts to help support us in all of this technology. Every single one of those is for you.